Many scientists believe that another mass extinction event, similar to the one that wiped out the non-avian dinosaurs, is not only possible, but may already be underway. While the dinosaurs were wiped out by a sudden asteroid impact, today's extinction crisis is being driven by slower, human-made forces like climate change, habitat destruction, and pollution, which many experts say are fueling what's now being called the sixth mass extinction. Imagine this. One day, all humans vanish. Maybe it's a sudden extinction event, maybe a slow decline, but in the end, there's no one left. Now fast forward, not just hundreds or thousands but millions of years. What would Earth look like? Would any trace of us still remain? Could a new intelligent species rise up and even know that we ever existed? It's a strange question, but also a fascinating one, because thinking about the future can often help us understand the past. And perhaps the most haunting part of this thought experiment is this. If another civilization can't find traces of us after we're gone, what if we've already missed the traces of civilizations that came before us? In today's video, we're diving deep into these fascinating questions and revealing the surprising answers. So, let's begin with, what happens when humanity goes extinct? When humans disappear from the planet, the first thing to understand is that nature doesn't wait around. Very quickly, our cities, roads, and machines begin to crumble. Without people maintaining power plants, the lights go out within hours or days. Subway systems start to flood. Without pumps, rainwater and underground streams fill tunnels. Buildings begin to decay. Within 100 years, many steel structures collapse from rust and erosion. Within 1,000 years, large cities like New York or Mumbai could be covered in forest or desert depending on the region. Concrete breaks apart, metal corrodes, and glass shatters or sinks into rubble. The natural world begins to erase the straight lines and sharp corners that mark human civilization. Even something massive like the Hoover Dam might last for a few thousand years, but eventually, even that will break down. Giant landmarks like Mount Rushmore or the Great Wall of China might stick around a little longer, but not forever. Most satellites in orbit will fall back to Earth within a few hundred years, burning up in the atmosphere. Only a few could last tens of thousands of years, especially those in higher orbits. Now, let's zoom out further. After 10,000 years, very little of our everyday technology, cars, phones, buildings would still be recognizable. In 100,000 years, Earth could go through climate shifts, earthquakes, floods, and maybe even another ice age. All of these would bury or crush anything we've built. And after 1,000,000 years, even the deepest human-made things like underground bunkers or landfills could be destroyed by geological processes, earthquakes, erosion, or continental drift. So what would be left? Maybe a few things. Radioactive materials could still be traceable for hundreds of thousands or even millions of years. Plastic might last in some form, but not in the way we know it. Microplastics could remain in sediments, but who would know what they meant? Some metals like stainless steel or bronze might survive longer if buried and preserved from air and water. And maybe, just maybe, a few stone structures like pyramids or Mount Rushmore could last for hundreds of thousands of years, though even they would eventually weather away. In the far future, say, 10 million years from now, the Earth would be completely transformed. Mountain ranges could rise or erode, oceans might shift, species would evolve, the world would look totally different. But the most interesting thing is, imagine after all this a new intelligent species arises, whether from birds, octopuses, or something else entirely. They evolve slowly over millions of years. Eventually, they start building tools, creating language, forming communities, and finally developing science and technology. They start exploring their world, digging in the ground, studying rocks, looking at the stars. And the interesting question here would be, will they be able to find us? Well, that depends on what they're looking for and how deep they dig. Most fossils don't last forever. They need very special conditions to even form in the first place. If someone in the future finds a human fossil, they might think it was just one of many extinct animal species. Unless they find it buried near strange materials like metal, plastic, or artificial chemicals, it might not even stand out. And even if they found a city buried under layers of earth or ice, would they understand it was once alive with electricity, cars, factories, internet, music, and emotion? Our computers and books might be long gone. Our languages could be completely lost. Without context, even the best preserved ruins might look like strange rock formations or natural patterns. Here's another twist. Earth's surface constantly recycles itself. Plate tectonics can push parts of the crust deep underground over millions of years, so entire civilizations could be buried and melted into magma over time. Even Mount Everest, once under the ocean, rose due to tectonic shifts. So after tens of millions of years, much of today's surface, including any evidence of us, might no longer exist at all. So yes, it is possible that a future intelligent civilization could miss us completely. Not because we didn't leave anything behind, but because time, nature, and Earth itself are incredibly efficient at wiping the slate clean. Now let's flip this around. If it's possible that future beings could completely miss us, then what about us? Could we be the ones who miss something? Could there have been advanced civilizations before us, long before any recorded history? Officially, human civilization with writing, cities, and organized societies goes back about 6,000 years. Modern humans as a species go back about 200,000 to 300,000 years. But life on Earth has existed for over 3.5 billion years. That's an enormous stretch of time. And in that vast window, it's not completely impossible that intelligent life could have evolved, built a civilization, and vanished, leaving no obvious trace. Now, this doesn't mean we've had flying cars and spaceports in ancient times like in science fiction, but it's also not impossible that some earlier species, maybe before the last ice age or even millions of years ago, developed some form of culture, technology, or intelligence. And like us, they could have disappeared, wiped out by a natural disaster, climate change, disease, or even self-destruction. If their tools were biodegradable, or if their structures were mostly made of wood, mud, or stone, very little would survive. And if their civilization only lasted a few thousand years as ours has so far, it might be nearly invisible after millions of years. Some scientists have explored this idea seriously. It's called the Silurian hypothesis, named after a reptilian species in a science fiction TV show. The hypothesis doesn't claim that ancient intelligent life definitely existed, but it asks the question, would we even know if it had? In geology, most of the Earth's layers represent natural processes, volcanoes, sedimentation, erosion. But sometimes, we find strange markers like unusual concentrations of metals or carbon isotopes. Could those be signals of past industrial activity? Possibly, but it's hard to be sure. The truth is, we might never know. We're used to thinking of ourselves as the most advanced species ever to exist on this planet, and maybe we are. But it's humbling to realize that even our biggest monuments, our greatest cities, and all our digital data might someday vanish as if we were never here, just like a footprint in the sand washed away by the tide. So what's the takeaway? If another civilization evolves millions of years after us, they might not even know we existed, just as we might be completely unaware of any intelligent life that came before us. It reminds us of how temporary our presence is, not just as individuals, but as a species. But that's not a reason to feel hopeless. In fact, it's a reason to treasure what we have now. to learn, to preserve knowledge, to act responsibly. Because even if we fade away, the legacy of what we build, our ideas, our compassion, our science could echo forward, even if only subtly. And perhaps, just perhaps, somewhere out there or sometime in the past, there were others like us dreaming, wondering, asking the same questions. And maybe the universe in its own quiet way remembers.